Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Joshua Belanger, who is with OptionSIZZLE.com. Welcome to the program, Joshua.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hey, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what your business is.
Well, my main business is trading options, and I also teach people how to do the same. So kind of the core thing that I look to do is there's two big hurdles that people come across when investing in the market, and I look to help them get past that.
Which I'm sure that a quick Google search or conversation with any friend of yours or someone would uncover that you have competitors. So you're not the only one out there talking about this. So what would set your program or your teaching apart from what people could find out there?
Well, kind of what we'll talk about a little bit, kind of making differences in your business and how you can kind of continue forward. But kind of that little hook that I just put in place right before I started talking was I help investors get past the two biggest hurdles that most face. So that right there, if that resonates with a lot of people, they'll be engaged, and that's the hook right there to get them to listening to the next step. Because I could say, the what, all I want, but, for some people it doesn't really mean anything, and you sound like everyone else as well. So
yeah, that's a really good point. And so what would you say is the number one top hurdle that people face?
Well, the two would be fear and greed. And the way that I approach investing and also specifically trading options really kind of alleviates that, kind of that approach. And the success is built off of eliminating fear and greed as best you can. You can't control your emotions, but you can control fear and greed when it comes to making smart decisions, just like you do in business.
Yeah, it reminds me of the famous quote. I probably will butcher it, but you know where I'm going with Warren Buffett. The two rules. Rule number one, make a profit. Rule number two, always refer back to rule number one. And so that's kind of the fear, and greed kind of tied in because people fear losing money, and then the greed is just a little bit more, but you can never go broke taking a profit.
Yeah, and my problem with that quote. I mean, listen, you can't. The reason why the quotes like that stand out is because how we view success as a person. Somebody like Warren Buffett and they're outliers. They have built success. They have done it. You can't knock them for it. But with that quote right there, to me, that would be like a baseball player going up to bat. Don't swing at a bad ball. I mean, of course they're not going to swing at a bad ball, but you have to go up there and make your hits. You can't have success. You can't create success by being on your heels. You have to get after it. You have to go. So that quote, I'm not really too keen on it. Don't lose money. Of course. I mean, a basketball player, don't miss the basket. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I don't know the explicit rating that you have, but I could say, yeah, no bleep. And, of course, but a professional basketball player has to go out there and shoot the basket, because if you don't shoot the basket, you lose. And if you miss the basket, you lose. So where's the middle ground there? Well, you have to make the basket, and that's where skill and kind of the skill comes into play and the understanding, and that's how you make a difference. So, I little tangent on you, little quote there, but it's that those are the kind of things that you have to kind of think about. I mean, yeah, they sound flashy and they sound good, but to me that you don't put money to risk to lose it, but you also have to have a strong foundation and an understanding that you have confidence that, I'm not going to go out there, knowing that I'm going to lose or have, fear of losing. But if I do lose, I know that's just part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, I love taking a counterintuitive approach to even quotes or commonly held thoughts. You think about, many times when I do a seminar or presentation, I'll say, okay, complete the sentence. You win or you, and everyone's like, lose. And I'm like, no, You win or you learn. And obviously, that's the teaching point to that is, if you lose, quote unquote lose, why did you lose? Can you backtrack what happened? Can you learn from that? And that's obvious where you're going with that. And I would suspect that you even have that built into some of your trainings, which is, oops, this was a bad trade. What caused it? How can I prevent that in the future? And so I think I love the big fears and the things like that you address, because that's a huge, huge piece. Hey, so Joshua, the point now is we've established, that you've got a unique business and you've got some things that establish your competitive advantage. What do you find in your business that you have successfully implemented that help you build your business? Because I'm sure over the years you've done some things that did not work as well, but what are some things that have worked?
Well, it's humbling and nice for you to say that, but I come from a stance of always hungry and always willing to learn. And, while we kind of talked a little bit about, I think understanding a little bit about, and kind of my point of talking a little bit about, the two biggest hurdles, because that's what people face the most. But if no one's talking about that, and let's say if I went with the other route, which I've done before, and the other route is, hey, I can make money, follow my trades. You're going to attract some people that way. And in most cases, and from what I've learned in that situation, they're not the best type of people because they're only looking for the quick fix. But for somebody that is in pain and has, my audience is an older demographic, they're nearing retirement or in retirement, they've struggled, the market's beat them up, their wife has been on them, kids are in college, they have finances, they got to take care of their family. So there's a lot that goes behind it, and that's understanding who you're serving. Then you start to realize, okay, where's their pain point? Let me talk to that pain. So the biggest pain that a lot of people will have is that fear and greed. And for me, that's one of the things that I think if I can help them understand and eliminate that, that's going to help them. And that's kind of where I talk about. I could talk about a lot of other things related to finance and so forth, and a lot of people do. But for me, that's kind of where I kind of sit, and those that want to hear that will be attracted to you.
Mm-hmm. What specific business development and marketing techniques do you use to build your business?
Yeah, so from there, once I get you in my net, as sexy as that sounds, one of the things that I do is, because the market in my specific niche, and I hate the word niche, and I just don't know why I just use that, my arena, we have something going on every day. Last week was the Brexit, and now we have this big, massive rally, and then we have earnings coming up. So there's always something to talk about, and I just want to use that because it's easy for someone to say, yeah, you have something always going on in your industry. But there's other industries where there's stuff going on all the time. Last week I went to a podcasting event. For podcasters, that could have been an event, and the 3 days could have been, and the 3 days there would have been all kinds of these 80 session breakouts. And one of the things that I do every day is I send out a daily email. And one of the ways, and not one of the ways, but why I do that is because it keeps engaged with my audience, and it's a kind of a simple, kind of talkative email where I keep in front of them. Because again, in daily lives, we're overly, in most cases, worked or stressed or things are on our mind. We have so much going on. So one of the ways that I want to keep in front of people is with a kind of a daily email that if that person who I believe that I attracted is in that pain, they're going to want to hear from me. But I kind of keep it in a way where I'm like, hey, and then short to the point and then out. And so that's kind of how
daily emails kind of sound scary from the business person, entrepreneur, marketer's perspective, because what's the opt-out rate? And, you want to email your people once a month. Well, that's not enough. So once a week is scary, but every day. So are those people receiving your emails, are they clients or people that have bought from you, or are they just anyone that have engaged with your brand?
Yeah. So, I started OptionSIZZLE in 2008 during the financial crisis. So I've learned a lot. I keep learning. I've changed. I pivoted the wrong way. I got beat up. I got, I've made mistakes. I've learned. I have losses, which I've learned, just to kind of tail back to your original thought earlier. Yeah, for probably in the beginning part of it, I would have agreed with a lot of people. And it's easy, again, to sit back on your heels and say, that doesn't work, or someone XYZ said that. But one of the things I always kind of go back to, and I've learned, and the reason why is because I kind of ventured off into different areas, and I didn't really focus in on, my gut instinct. And not saying gut instinct is the best, but in school, I always remember the teacher. If you don't know the answer, go with your gut instinct, your first answer. And there's a reason why, because when you start to overthink things, you start to really cripple your thought and make it more complicated, where in some cases that answer may be in your back of your head. You're kind of just a little bit of in doubt. And even if it's wrong, at least you move on from it and you make the decision, where a lot of people get crippled by the fact of, I don't know the answer. What do I do now? And they kind of just sink into that. So I would have agreed with that, but until I actually started doing it myself as kind of a little challenge, just to kind of see how it worked, then I kind of went with it. And the reason why is because a lot of people would say that. And I'd say, I don't want it myself, or X, Y, Z. But then eventually I started going back to understanding how to serve the audience, how to serve my clients, how to serve my customers. And if you're interested in somebody, if you're interested in somebody, and also if you're in a pain, you need a problem solved, they can't hear enough of it because they need it solved. And people are going to unsubscribe maybe because they solved it, maybe because they're not that interested. It's just part of the process. I view it as kind of like I set the stage on this, is that if you're playing from your heels, if you're playing not to lose, you're never going to win. Yep. And that's how most people face.
Out of curiosity, what's an average daily email that you send out? How many is it? 17 paragraphs? Is it one paragraph? What kind of is the average length?
Usually what I do, in kind of a little trick here, or bonus, I actually use the one of the ways I like to write my emails is conversational. I'm not the best writer. My grammar's terrible. I have to recheck it. I use a thing called Grammarly, and it always has like 20 things I need to fix on it. I got to read it once. I got to reread it again. I have to read it out loud so it makes sense. But that's one of the ways that I actually edit. So what I do is I actually try to make it conversational, and I also record it where I upload it onto our podcast. So I take it as print, and I also use it as an audio as well. They're usually about 2 to 3 minutes long. So word-wise, it's probably about 500 words. Mm-hmm. If five,
and I think that
that's
marketing,
kind of the sweet spot.
It just really gets down to test it, because someone could say daily emails that would never work in my business. Well, try it for 30 days and see what your opt-out rate is, or what some people's responses are. And here's the tip that I think you would agree with, is every single email, beginning, middle, and end with buy this, buy. Of course not. It's helpful information. It's current relevant events and applying it to the industry that you're in. And I would venture to say that you could look at, the daily news or the headlines of the day, or whatever, news reader that you get online, and see what's happening. And literally within 5 minutes, if you sat down and thought about that headline, could relate it back to your business in some way. And even if it's in a comical way, or even if it's in just I just think that it's an interesting way to kind of, people would scratch their head and go, well, what do I talk about every day? Well, what's going on in the world?
Yeah, I don't go about it where I'm just writing email for just laughs and wasting time. The reason why is because it's almost where I use it as kind of an information part of it. And the problem with giving free information is that if you give it for free and you never have anything and you ask for anything, you're never going to get anything. Mm. So I'll provide some kind of context in there where it's informative, where I'm not giving out too much. It's usually the what and the why, kind of talking to the pain, the problem, the issue. But then to solve that problem, I will have a little subtle call to action. And I don't, some people don't like it, but the other people don't mind it because I've provided some information. And at the end of it, I say, and also, hey, if you are on the same page with me, or if you are XYZ, or if you haven't yet, or some kind of subtly, not like, hey, go buy my thing right now, but like, hey, if this is what you're dealing with right now, and if you haven't picked up, for instance, the book that I wrote, Fearless Investing with Options, hey, head over here, and this is exactly the stuff that I'll talk about here and much more. Here's the link to your wealth, freedom, and options, Joshua Belanger. That's how I usually do it. And every email will have something in there with a call to action like that, but it's not, hey, go buy my thing. And
it's not hitting you over the head with, deadline and a countdown timer and a flashing button.
Yeah, like grab these 3 trades right now. Yep. Hey, Mike, this is Josh here, and tomorrow's going to open up a new market day, and there's 3 trades I have looked at right now, and these trades are going to be profit-making trades, and rah, get them now.
Right. No. And while you're getting them, get my guide to blah, blah, blah for only $14 and, click here to buy. Yeah, I think that, and you made a comment. And
then the next email is the countdown. Hey, Mike, there's only 2 hours left, and you didn't get those 3 yet.
And, in some industries that works, but I think that you made an interesting comment about being conversational, and I would almost, and I've never seen your emails before, but I would almost say, man, however long it takes you to read out loud and Grammarly and all those different ones, just bag it and just write like you talk and let it be conversational. And if someone emails you back and go, you should have used this punctuation, forget about that, because I think people really do like a quick hit conversational style, and especially if you're going to take it and turn it right into a audio for the podcast. But that's just a point of observation.
It doesn't take that long. It takes about 20 minutes. And the grammar part I really have to do because there's spellings of like bear, like be, like don't, you can't bear with that. Like I'll spell it like a grizzly bear. So
yeah.
There's some mistakes in there where, for somebody that's a faster typer than myself, or they could get through it. But you really only have to spend about 10 to 20 minutes. That's how long I spend on that. Grammarly does a lot of the stuff for me, so I just, kind of read it. And I made it sound like a lot, and I'm glad you said that. It's actually not. You can really kind of pump these together where you can get 5 of these done in an hour and have it scheduled for you and, kind of hit on that. So, yeah, I made it sound like a lot of work. It's really not. That's why I really keep it really short to the point. And, kind of like a lot of the excuses, well, I don't have anything to talk about. Hey, it's tough for me even to talk about things, but I leverage my daily life into it. So one of the emails I wrote last week was about how I went to a JP Morgan. The business bank accounts at Bank of America. We have a couple different lines of credit cards, American Express, and one with Bank of America. Kind of to diversify that, I was looking at JP Morgan. Kind of, I loathe all big banks, but hey, sometimes you got to bite your tongue. So I went there, filled out an application, so forth, and then I sat with a personal banker or a private client banker. So that's the upper. And they're like, hey, Josh, how do we get your business here? And, to be honest, I'm not really too keen on Bank of America, so it's a little bit easy. So I started to talk with them a little bit, and I asked them some questions. And this is more, I'm talking to in right now, but the email that I wrote was really, and kind of leading into the email, I asked them about money sweeps, and they're like, well, we can't really talk about that. I'm like, okay. And I asked them another question, and usually questions that they're not going to get, because I know from being a professional what a financial professional what I'm talking about. So, then the lady's response was, well, you could put it into a CD, or you could do this. And it was all options about how to lock up your money. So what was my email about? My email was about how I went to JP Morgan and how I went to go to this bank account. And I asked about this question. It's never transparency with these banks. And all they want to do is lock up your money. And, of course, they recommended the old savings account as if that's the life-changing savior. And I talked about a little story about, just the fact of like with banks today and the access to technology, that I actually feel safer with my money in my brokerage account because I can actually operate out of that as a bank account. And that the solutions they provided was all about taking my money from me, never how to manage your money better.
Yeah, what's in it for them, not what's in it for you.
Again, I'm talking to my audience, and I'm talking to them as, hey, I went to JP Morgan, and all they wanted to do was sell me product. They wanted to take my money from me and let me say, hey, we'll do it for you. We'll just take a modest fee, but we'll never return anything. But they never provided me any solution of how to manage my money better. Hey, Josh, here's our platform, our trading platform, or here's how you can manage your money better to make better returns. It was always about letting them try to do it, which they underperformed. So that was what my email was about. It had nothing to do, my JP Morgan story had nothing to do really with anything, but getting to the point was, hey, this is all banks and firms. That's all they're going to do. They just want to take your money. I'm a perfect example. I just go in there. They know what I do. I told them about what I do. They're still trying to pitch me products. So that was the point of the email. And then again, the call to action. So you can always relate some kind of story to what you do, what problem you solve, what business you do. You can always relate things to it. And that was a story.
Yeah, it's in the marketing world, it's called story selling, because facts tell, but stories sell. So what I would ask of you is, for anyone wanting to learn more about your business and maybe get in on these daily, cool, much ado about nothing but interesting correlations to current events, what is the best way that people can learn more about you and your business?
Well, I hate to say it because I really want people to join OptionSIZZLE to be engaged on managing their own money. But if you go to OptionSIZZLE.com, you can actually sign up for the emails. You can kind of see what I do. I'm not the only one that does this. I've learned from other people who have implemented this, but you could see firsthand kind of what I talk about. And it's not always about the market, because there's only so much you could talk about the market. Apple was up today. It's meaningless. The stuff that's talked about on the news, it's meaningless. So I try to take a different approach, again, with the JP Morgan thing, with talking about different things in life. Tony the trader at Starbucks, I talked about him. I was walking by. I go to Starbucks every day. I see this guy trading penny stocks. It's just anything that can come up that you can use to tie it into what you solve is the best solution. And that's really the best way. It's kind of a conversation. If you're at a party and we're talking to somebody, you tell a little story just like I did, and you're more engaging, because it's not the, hey, here's buy my product and buy this and that, because you're going to attract people, but they're not the people that you really want to attract. Yep. I would say, because they're just looking for the quick fix. They're going to be headaches down the road. And, if you're talking that language to that person who thinks, oh, all I need is this silver bullet, or all I need is this magic pill, yeah, then you're going to get that. But people get mad at my emails. They go, you don't provide enough. You don't talk too much. I just want a trade idea. I just want this. I don't care about, the thought process behind it, or the fundamental thinking, or the things that the core that matters. They opt out. That's fine. That's the people I don't want to talk.
That's exactly right. And the people that just want just give me the straight scoop. The scary part is, most of the time you need to know the theory and the strategy behind it so that you can make the right decision for you. You should never in a million years just take someone's word for it and go, oh, trade advice, click, trade, done, because that's just flying blind, I would suspect. So really enjoyed getting to know you and learning about your business and your philosophy behind it, and some of the interesting ways that you use email and communication mainly. It doesn't even matter email, because you use it email to podcast, and that's a very unique approach. So thank you for your time, and it was wonderful getting to know you and your business.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the opportunity, and let me rant a little bit.
Yep, you got it, man. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.